It was a late summer afternoon, the kind where the sun hangs low and turns everything gold. A quiet neighborhood shopping center buzzed with weekend energy, families grabbing groceries, couples wandering between stores, and teenagers drifting around with nothing better to do. Among them was a group of 5 teens, loud, restless, and armed with their phones like weapons. They weren't bad kids, just bored, overconfident, and always hunting for content to post online. Their leader, a boy named Tyler, had a bold idea. Let's prank someone. Something big. Something viral. His friends immediately agreed, anything for a few million views. As they scanned the area for potential victims, one of them froze. Yo, guys, isn't that Steven Seagal? About 20 yards away, Steven Seagal walked calmly toward the entrance of a bookstore. Dressed in a simple black jacket and dark sunglasses, he moved with that slow, deliberate confidence only martial artists and men with real experience carry. He wasn't there for attention, just a quiet afternoon with a cup of tea and a new book. But to the teens, this wasn't a peaceful moment. It was an opportunity. Tyler grinned. Bro, imagine the views if we prank him. Legend or not, let's see if he's as tough as they say. His friends hesitated. Everyone knew Seagal's reputation. Still, peer pressure is powerful. And in their minds, this wasn't danger. It was content. The group gathered in a huddle, whispering plans. Fake kicks. Mocked martial arts moves. Maybe pretending to pick a fight, just for fun. None of them considered consequences. None of them recognized the risk of targeting a trained Aikido master with decades of real-life combat experience. And above all, none of them realized that Steven Seagal had already noticed them. Without turning his head, he observed them in the reflection of a passing car window. His training had taught him to sense energy long before words or actions followed. Something about the group felt chaotic, reckless. Still, he didn't react. He just continued walking, silent and composed, letting the moment unfold. The teens exchanged one last excited look. Cameras ready. Nerves high. Ego through the roof. They had no idea that this harmless prank was about to become the moment that shook them to their core. Tyler adjusted his phone camera, making sure the red recording light was on. His heart thumped with a mix of adrenaline and excitement. All right, boys. Stay cool. Just follow the plan, he whispered. Behind him, his friends nodded nervously, shifting their weight from one foot to the other. Steven Seagal stood near the bookstore entrance now, flipping through a display rack of new arrivals. He seemed utterly unbothered, calm, still, moving with the slow precision of a man who never wasted energy. To the teens, that calmness looked like weakness. To anyone who actually understood who he was, it was the calm before the storm. Tyler made the first move. He strutted toward Seagal, exaggerating his steps. His friends spread out behind him, recording from different angles. A couple of shoppers noticed the group's strange behavior and paused to watch, sensing something was off. Tyler cleared his throat loudly. Hey, aren't you Steven Seagal? He shouted, voice dripping with fake confidence. Seagal didn't turn around. He simply placed the book back on the shelf. Tyler smirked and stepped closer. Oh, come on man, don't ignore us. Big movie star too good to say hi. This time, Seagal slowly lifted his head, but still didn't turn. Son, he said in a calm, even tone, go home. The teens exchanged looks. That wasn't the reaction they wanted. They wanted anger, drama, something dramatic to post online. So Tyler doubled down. He walked around to face Seagal directly, blocking his path. What's wrong, old man? Afraid to show those skills you brag about in movies? A few people nearby sucked in a breath. They knew the name Steven Seagal wasn't one to provoke. But Tyler was reckless. His friends started making mocking martial arts moves, throwing fake punches in the air, mimicking flashy kicks, laughing loudly. They circled around Seagal, treating the moment like a joke, like a playground stunt. Customers inside the store stepped closer to the windows, sensing something escalating. Seagal looked at Tyler for the first time, really looked at him. His eyes were sharp, clear, focused. Something about that gaze made the teens shift nervously. But the phones were recording, and none of them wanted to look scared. Tyler lifted his hands and threw a playful, fake kick in Seagal's direction, intentionally wide, meant to provoke a reaction. "There," he laughed. "See? Nothing. You're not that tough." Seagal didn't move. Not an inch. But his stillness wasn't weakness. It was patience. A mother walking by tugged her daughter away. A security guard at the end of the mall corridor noticed the commotion. The atmosphere changed. What had started as a harmless prank was turning into something unsettling. Tyler stepped even closer, practically invading Seagal's personal space. "Come on, man. Do something. Show us a move. Unless you can't." This time, Seagal spoke again, still calm, but with a firmness that carried weight. "Back up," he said quietly. "This isn't a game." But teenage bravado is a dangerous thing. Tyler wasn't backing up. He shoved Seagal, not hard, but enough to cross a line. Gasps echoed across the entrance. A couple began recording too. Even Seagal's friends would say, "No one lays hands on him without consequence." Seagal didn't shove him back. He didn't raise his voice. He simply turned his head slightly, looking at the teens behind Tyler. "You boys think I won't defend myself because you have cameras," he said in a low, controlled voice. "But those phones won't protect you from your own stupidity." Tyler's smirk faltered. His friends shifted uneasily. The crowd watching grew larger by the second. Something in Seagal's tone, measured, unshaken, sent a chill through them. He wasn't angry. He was aware, calculating, prepared. One of the teens whispered, "Dude, maybe we should chill. This is Steven Seagal." But Tyler was too deep into the performance. Backing down now would embarrass him in front of his friends, and worse, in front of the future audience he imagined watching the video. So he puffed out his chest and forced a laugh. "What, man? Gonna fight us? You're like, what? 60? That was the moment Seagal's expression changed, ever so slightly. Not anger. Not fear. Recognition. He finally understood the type of kids he was dealing with. Young, reckless, blinded by the promise of online fame. And that made them more dangerous than they realized. Seagal took a slow breath, then stepped forward. One single, controlled step. Tyler instinctively stepped back. The teens behind him scrambled awkwardly, bumping into each other as they tried to keep their phones steady. Their laughter faded. Their forced confidence began to crumble. Seagal didn't lift a hand. Didn't raise his voice. But his presence alone, calm, grounded, unshakable, was enough to shift the entire atmosphere. He spoke softly, but every word landed heavy. "You boys picked the wrong man to mess with today." The teens froze. The shoppers fell silent. The air tightened with tension. And for the first time, Tyler realized this wasn't a prank anymore. The air around the bookstore tightened like a rope pulled too far. People sensed danger, real danger, and slowly backed away to give space. None of them said a word. Their silence was louder than the teens' earlier laughter. Tyler swallowed hard, trying to hide the growing fear in his chest. Steven Seagal didn't look angry. He looked aware, confident in a way that only someone who had faced far worse threats could be. But Tyler's pride wouldn't let him step back now. He forced a grin. "What's wrong? Don't like being messed with?" Before Seagal could answer, one of the teens behind Tyler tried to impress him by stepping forward. A tall boy named Ryan swung his arms in a mock karate chop, pretending to charge at Seagal. Maybe he needs a little wake-up call. He lunged forward, not with real intent, but enough to be stupid. And that was the breaking point. Seagal didn't attack. He didn't strike. He simply moved. It was so smooth, so fast, so controlled that most people didn't even understand what happened. In a single motion, Seagal shifted his weight, turned slightly, and used Ryan's own momentum to guide him forward. Ryan stumbled, lost balance, and the next thing he knew, he was pinned lightly but firmly against a nearby pillar, completely immobilized. Seagal used just 2 fingers to control him. Gasps erupted from the crowd. A mother covered her child's eyes. The security guard who had been watching from a distance hurried closer but stopped once he understood the situation. It wasn't a fight. It was discipline. Tyler froze. His friends froze. This wasn't Hollywood. This was real. Seagal loosened his hold, letting Ryan step back, shaken, embarrassed, but unharmed. Then he faced Tyler again. "You think violence is funny," Seagal said quietly. "You think disrespect makes you brave. But all I see is fear." It felt like a punch to Tyler's chest. His cheeks flushed red, part anger, part humiliation. "And no man," Tyler stammered. We were just playing. Playing." Seagal's voice didn't rise, but somehow it grew stronger. "Play is what children do in parks. What you did was provoke, harass, threaten." The teens didn't have a comeback. Their phones, once held so confidently, now trembled in their hands. The crowd watched every second. Seagal took another step forward, not aggressive, but unavoidable. "You boys want fame? You want views? Let me tell you something." He looked straight into Tyler's eyes. There is nothing more pathetic than someone trying to look strong while doing something weak. Several onlookers murmured in agreement. A man in a baseball cap whispered, "He's right, you know." Tyler's throat tightened. The attention, the phones, the crowd. Everything felt heavier than before. He wasn't in control of the moment anymore. But before he could say anything, Seagal continued. "I've spent my life training, teaching, and protecting people. Real strength isn't loud. Real strength isn't cruel. And real strength—" He paused, letting the silence sharpen his next words. "Is never afraid to walk away." Tyler's friends shifted, guilt sinking into their expressions. What had started as a prank now felt like a lesson they never asked for, but desperately needed. Trying to salvage what little pride he had left, Tyler muttered, We didn't mean any harm." Seagal shook his head gently. "Intention doesn't erase action." A nearby shopper nodded. Another whispered, "About time someone said it." Tyler felt the pressure building around him. His chest tightened, his hands cramped around his phone. His mind raced. Should I apologize? Should I run? Should I pretend this was still a joke? Seagal took a small breath. Then he did the most unexpected thing of all. He relaxed. He lowered his shoulders, straightened his jacket, and looked at Tyler not with anger, but disappointment. "You're young," he said softly. "You think this moment defines you. It doesn't. What defines you is what you do next." The weight of that truth hit Tyler harder than any physical strike ever could. For the first time since the prank started, Tyler felt small, not because Seagal intimidated him, but because Seagal saw right through him. Ryan, still shaken from being effortlessly controlled, finally spoke up. "Tyler, let's just stop, man. This isn't funny anymore." The others nodded. The laughter, the bravado, the fake confidence, they were all gone. In their place was something new, realization. But Tyler, torn between embarrassment and pride, clenched his fists. "No, we can still." Before he could finish, Seagal raised a single hand, not threateningly, but with calm authority. "Enough. The word cut through Tyler like a blade. It wasn't yelled. It wasn't angry. It was final. The teens fell silent. The crowd remained still. Even the mall speakers playing soft music seemed quieter. Tyler finally understood the truth. This wasn't Seagal's fight. It was his lesson. And the lesson was far from over. For a long moment, nobody moved. Tyler stood frozen, his posture crumbling under the weight of embarrassment and fear. The phones that once recorded with excitement now trembled in the hands of his friends. The crowd, larger now than before, watched with a mix of concern, curiosity, and quiet anticipation. Steven Seagal didn't break eye contact. He didn't need to. His presence alone held the entire scene together. The teenagers didn't realize it yet, but the moment they chose to target him, they had stepped into a world far beyond internet pranks and shallow confidence. Finally, one of the bystanders, an older man with gray hair and calm eyes, stepped forward. He spoke to the teens, not Seagal. "You kids don't understand how lucky you are," he said softly. Tyler blinked. "Lucky? How?" The man glanced at Seagal before responding. "Lucky that he's the one you messed with. Anyone else might have lost their temper. You don't know how bad this could have gotten." A ripple of agreement murmured through the crowd. Another voice chimed in, a mother holding a toddler on her hip. "We saw everything. You boys weren't pranking. You were provoking him on purpose." Tyler's stomach twisted. Hearing strangers say it out loud made everything feel worse. His closest friend, Lucas, lowered his phone. "Tyler, they're right. We took this too far." Tyler wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, but he suddenly felt overwhelmed. His heart thudded painfully, and his throat felt tight. He stared at Seagal, expecting anger, judgment, maybe even mockery. But Seagal just looked calm. Not annoyed. Not triumphant. Just calm. It confused Tyler. It humbled him. It scared him. Seagal shifted his stance slightly and addressed the entire group of teens. "I'm not here to humiliate you," he said. "I've seen a lot of young men throw away their futures over moments of pride. I don't want that for you." Tyler looked down, breathing heavily. This wasn't the reaction he expected. He expected yelling, maybe a shove back, something he could twist into a video that made him look like a hero or a victim. Instead, he got something much harder to face: accountability. A teenage girl from the crowd stepped forward. "Why were you guys doing this anyway?" she asked. "Just to get views." Lucas muttered, eyes still on the floor. "Yeah, we wanted to go viral." Seagal raised one eyebrow, disappointed. "You want to go viral? Do something worth filming. Something good. Not this." Tyler's cheeks burned with shame. He felt the heat rising up to his ears. He tried to swallow the guilt, but it stuck in his throat. The older man from earlier added, "Respect gets you further than views ever will." The words stung because they were true. All the teens' attempts to look bold, fearless, and edgy suddenly felt hollow. Tyler's hands were shaking now. He didn't know if it was fear or regret. Maybe both. Seagal noticed and softened his tone. "Son," he began, "you don't need to act tough to be strong. Real strength comes from character, not from ego." Tyler's voice cracked when he finally spoke. We didn't think it'd get serious." A small, tired smile crossed Seagal's face, not mocking, but understanding. "That's the problem with trouble," he said. "It always feels harmless until it's not." The crowd hummed in agreement again. Ryan, the teen who had been pinned earlier, stepped forward. "Mr. Seagal." "I'm sorry," he said quietly. His voice wavered, but his words were sincere. Seagal nodded once, slow, deliberate, accepting the apology. One by one, the other teens lowered their phones, ashamed of what they had tried to start. All except Tyler. He stood stiff, staring at the ground, feeling every pair of eyes on him. The pressure crushed his chest. His mouth felt dry. Seagal looked directly at him. "What about you, Tyler?" The question sliced through the silence. Tyler felt his heart drop. Suddenly, everything he had been holding inside, the pride, the bravado, the stubbornness, collapsed. His voice was barely audible. I messed up." The words trembled out, fragile and painful. "I didn't want to look weak," Tyler continued, his eyes glassy. I thought this would make me look cool." Seagal nodded slowly, hearing every word. "Looking cool won't make you a man," he said gently. "Taking responsibility will." Tyler lifted his eyes. For the first time, he didn't see Seagal as a celebrity. He saw him as a mentor, someone who understood, someone who wasn't trying to destroy him. "I'm sorry," Tyler said, this time with sincerity. "Really?" The tension finally eased. The crowd exhaled. Lucas put a hand on Tyler's shoulder. Seagal stepped back just a bit, giving Tyler space, giving all of them relief. "Good," Seagal said softly. "That's the first real thing you've said today." A few people clapped quietly. Not loud applause, just a respectful acknowledgement of a moment well learned. But the lesson wasn't over yet. As the security guard approached, the teens wondered if they were about to face even deeper consequences. Tyler's heart pounded again, and Seagal glanced at the guard with a subtle signal, one that would send the teens into the next phase of the lesson they would never forget. The security guard, a broad-shouldered man with a serious face, finally stepped forward. The teens stiffened. Tyler felt a shot of panic hit his chest so hard he almost stepped back. The guard looked at Seagal first. "Sir, I saw part of what happened. Do you want me to call the police?" The question struck the teens like a bolt of lightning. "Police." Tyler's stomach cramped. Lucas froze. Ryan whispered, "Oh God, under his breath. Instagram views didn't seem worth it anymore, not when real-life consequences loomed over them like a shadow. Seagal didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at the teens, one by one. His expression wasn't angry. It was contemplative, almost disappointed. "Do you boys understand how close you came to ruining your lives today?" he asked quietly. Tyler felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. He swallowed hard but said nothing. The guard repeated, "Mr. Seagal, should I call it in?" Seagal finally turned toward him. "No," he said. "Not yet. Not yet." Tyler's chest tightened. What did that mean? Seagal took a slow, deliberate breath and addressed the teens again. "You wanted to test me," he said. "But the truth is, life was testing you." A few people in the crowd nodded. Someone murmured, "He's right." Seagal continued, "You think being young gives you unlimited chances. But it doesn't. One wrong move, one bad choice, and everything can change." Tyler couldn't look up. His eyes stayed locked on the ground, blinking rapidly. "I wasn't going to hurt you," Seagal said. "But the next person you provoke might." Ryan rubbed his shoulder, remembering how effortlessly Seagal had disarmed him. "We get it," he whispered. "We really do." But Seagal wasn't finished. "You bullied a stranger. You mocked a man minding his business. You recorded it, hoping to make a joke out of someone else's dignity." Every sentence hit like a shot to the gut. Then Seagal said something that cut even deeper. "And you thought you were the strong ones." Lucas winced. Tyler flinched. The truth was so painful because it was undeniable. The security guard folded his arms. "What do you want to do with them, sir?" Seagal's eyes didn't move from Tyler. "Tell me something," he said softly. "If your mother saw this video, if your father saw how you behaved today, would they be proud?" Tyler's breath caught. His mother. His father. His family. He had never thought about them, not when planning the prank, not when recording, not when mocking Seagal. But now the thought crushed him. He shook his head weakly. No, they wouldn't. What about your younger siblings? Seagal added. What lesson would they learn watching you humiliate someone for fun? Tyler felt a tear roll down his cheek. He wiped it quickly, but everyone had already seen it. Seagal softened his posture just a little. That guilt you're feeling? Hold on to it. Let it change you. Silence pressed down like a weight. Then, unexpectedly, Seagal turned, not away, but slightly, giving Tyler room to step forward. So, Seagal said, what do you boys think should happen now? Tyler blinked. What do you mean? I mean, Seagal said slowly, do you think you deserve police involvement for what you did today? Ryan stepped forward, voice trembling. No, but we'll accept it if you want. We messed up. Lucas nodded. We went too far. We know. For the first time, Tyler forced himself to look Seagal in the eyes. If you want us arrested, he said, voice shaking, then do it. You're right. We crossed a line. The crowd murmured. This was the moment of reckoning. Seagal leaned back slightly, studying him. One thing I respect, he said, is honesty, even when it hurts. Tyler breathed shakily. Seagal then turned to the guard. These boys acted foolishly, he said. They endangered themselves and others. Tyler felt his heart sink. This was it. The moment his life changed forever. But then Seagal finished. And I believe a real consequence isn't something you hand out. It's something you learn. The guard nodded, understanding. Let them go, Seagal said. Tyler exhaled so sharply it nearly broke him. Ryan covered his face in relief. Lucas let out a shaky laugh. But Seagal raised a finger. I said let them go, he repeated. Not forget. The teens froze again. You want redemption? Seagal asked. Start by doing something decent. Tyler whispered. Anything. We'll do anything. Seagal gestured toward the crowd. Start by apologizing to every person you scared or disrespected today, individually. Tyler blinked. What? All of them? All of them, Seagal said firmly. One by one. The crowd watched with sharp eyes. This was the real punishment. Humbling. Public. Character-defining. Ryan gulped. We'll do it. Lucas nodded. Yeah. We have to. Tyler wiped his face, steadied his breathing, and whispered. Okay. We'll start now. Seagal stepped back, arms behind his back, watching, not with satisfaction, but with purpose. This wasn't revenge. This was guidance. And as the teens approached the first bystander to apologize, they realized something important. Steven Seagal didn't just teach them a lesson. He gave them a chance to become better men. The air outside the mall was electric. Word of the incident had spread faster than anyone could imagine. Smartphones, social media, and word of mouth had transformed what began as a simple prank into a viral spectacle. Clips of the teens' antics, Tyler's overconfidence, and, most importantly, Seagal's calm, controlled responses were circulating online within minutes. The teens huddled together, their phones shaking in their hands. Tyler's jaw was tight, his earlier bravado nowhere in sight. Look at this. Lucas whispered, showing a video with thousands of views already. The headline screamed, Teens try to prank Steven Seagal, he shuts them down effortlessly. Ryan groaned. Oh no, this is worse than I thought. Everyone's watching. Everyone's laughing at us. It wasn't just the laughs, they were being dissected, analyzed, and criticized. Comment threads were flooded with advice, warnings, and mockery. Some viewers praised Seagal's composure, Others marveled at the teen's recklessness. In every clip, Stephen moved like a man who knew exactly how to handle danger, but without ever raising his voice or harming anyone. Every gesture, every calm instruction was now a masterclass in control. Tyler's stomach churned as he scrolled. "I can't believe we did this. I thought it would be funny." Lucas nodded miserably. "We didn't think about consequences. Just the views." Meanwhile, the mall security and a few bystanders who witnessed the event firsthand began uploading their footage. From different angles, the clips showed the teens' mock moves, the moment Ryan was redirected and guided to the pillar, and Tyler's frozen, humiliated expression as Seagal spoke quietly but firmly. Each video added layers to the story, turning a private confrontation into a viral lesson in humility. The hashtag Seagal shuts teens down started trending. Within hours, millions of views poured in from around the globe. People commented on the teen's stupidity, but more importantly, they highlighted Seagal's composure, skill, and teaching moment. He hadn't fought aggressively. He hadn't mocked them. He had simply used his expertise and patience to turn the situation into a lesson the teens, and the world, would never forget. For Tyler, each view, each comment, was a punch to the gut. "We look like idiots," he muttered, his hands shaking. He saw comments like, "Learn respect before you think you're clever." "Seagal didn't even raise a finger, and you got destroyed." "That's how a real master handles arrogance." Lucas whispered, "We need to do something, apologize publicly. Maybe it'll stop the hate." Tyler nodded reluctantly. He felt the weight of responsibility for the first time in his life. This wasn't just embarrassment, it was accountability. Social media had amplified the consequences, forcing them to confront their recklessness head-on. Seagal, meanwhile, had already left the mall, unnoticed by most. He wasn't concerned with viral fame. To him, the lesson mattered far more than the views. But the viral reaction served a purpose. The teens' behavior became a cautionary tale. Everywhere people were sharing the videos, they weren't just laughing at Tyler and his friends. They were learning the value of composure, respect, and skill over ego. By the end of the day, every major social media platform had at least one clip circulating. Comments poured in from different countries: USA, UK, Australia, India, Philippines. Everyone had an opinion, but most agreed on one thing. Seagal had turned arrogance into humility without a single act of unnecessary violence. Tyler finally looked up from his phone, his face pale. Lucas placed a hand on his shoulder. We learned the hard way," Lucas said. "He made us realize how reckless we were." Tyler nodded slowly. "Yeah, and the world just watched it all." He swallowed. "We can't hide from this. We need to own it." And in that moment, Tyler understood the true power of the incident. The teens had wanted fame. They got it, but not the way they expected. Instead of being the stars of a prank, they became examples of the consequences of arrogance. Steven Seagal, calm and composed, had flipped the narrative completely. He hadn't needed to humiliate them with force. The lesson itself, amplified by the viral videos, did the job far more effectively. The lesson was clear: skill, composure, and patience always outweigh arrogance and recklessness. And for the teens, that lesson would follow them everywhere: online, at school, in conversations, and in their own minds, for years to come. The world had watched. They couldn't undo it. But perhaps, if they listened, they could learn. The sun had begun to set over the shopping district, casting long shadows over the now empty pavement. The mall was quiet, but the digital world was anything but. Clips of the incident with Steven Seagal were exploding across social media platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Millions had watched the confrontation, millions had shared it, and millions had commented, debated, and learned. The teens, once full of overconfidence and bravado, were now huddled together in silence. Tyler's hands still shook from the adrenaline, from the embarrassment, from the sheer weight of what had just happened. Every notification on his phone was another reminder that the world had witnessed their reckless stunt, and Seagal's quiet, masterful handling of it. Lucas muttered, "I don't think anyone's ever going to let us live this down." Tyler nodded slowly. "Yeah, but at least we're alive and we learned something." Ryan, still pale from being redirected against the pillar, added quietly, "I just can't stop watching how calm he was, like nothing could shake him. And yet, we all got our lesson." The teens had thought they were playing a game, but the lesson was clear. Arrogance and recklessness could never match experience, skill, and composure. And the world had witnessed it firsthand. Across the globe, people were sharing the story. Some viewers were inspired by Seagal's restraint. Others used the clips as cautionary tales for younger audiences. How ego and social media obsession can lead to humiliation. Every replay, every comment, every share reinforced the same simple truth. Respect, patience, and skill always triumph over impulsiveness and arrogance. Tyler stared at his screen, scrolling through comments. "This is how you teach kids a lesson without hurting them. Absolute legend." The teens got exactly what they deserved. Respect earns results, not insults. Steven Seagal just schooled a generation of reckless teens in under a minute. It stung, but Tyler couldn't deny the truth. Every word echoed the lesson Seagal had silently taught through his calm, measured actions. He realized that viral fame isn't about embarrassing others for views. It's about integrity, skill, and how you handle yourself under pressure. By evening, local news outlets had picked up the story. Interviews, short clips, and commentary filled news feeds. Commentators praised Seagal for demonstrating that one doesn't need aggression to command respect. The viral sensation had turned into a worldwide conversation about humility, accountability, and composure in the age of social media. Meanwhile, Tyler, Lucas, and Ryan had a moment of reckoning among themselves. We need to apologize properly," Tyler said. "Not just online, not just for the videos, to everyone we embarrassed today." Lucas nodded. "Yeah, we can't undo the viral views, but we can take responsibility." Ryan added, "And maybe we'll actually remember this lesson for life. Not just for a TikTok clip." Even in the chaos of instant virality, the teens understood one thing. This was a turning point. They had been reckless, impulsive, and self-centered, but Seagal's calm and decisive action had turned their stupidity into a life lesson they would never forget. And for the world watching, the lesson was even clearer. Power, skill, and patience don't need to shout. Sometimes, they just move with quiet confidence, and everyone else learns the hard way. As the final clips circulated online, Tyler looked at the screen one last time. He took a deep breath and muttered, "We were lucky. Lucky he didn't hurt anyone. Lucky we got taught this the right way." It was true. And he knew that story would stay with him, and millions of viewers, forever. If you've watched this and believe that quick wit, composure, and respect always beat arrogance, hit that like button, type respect in the comments to show you understand the lesson, and subscribe for more incredible real-life moments that teach lessons you'll never forget.